All right.
Yep.
Good.
All yours.
Thank you.
So, everybody, we've got 26 of you, and welcome. And I'm really going to leave this to Nels, who has been leading us very gently by the hand through this whole process. Feel free to ask questions via chat, and I'll see if I can see them. And we'll come back to that when Nels has finished running through his presentation. As I said to those of you who were on early, using the webinar at this end has been a new experience for us, so we might not get it right the first time, but there'll be time for questions offline if we don't get them all while we're done online. So I'm going to hide myself, but I'm still here, and leave Nels to take over. Thank you, Nels.
Thank you, Diane. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time today for this presentation. I am one of the two co-founders of ConsortiaManager, and today I'm just going to give you a demonstration of how the system works from the member end, but also give you a bit of background on what ConsortiaManager is and what has prompted Diane and Alicia to take an interest in this product, so that you know what it is that they're trying to achieve. Just quickly about myself, I've got, I think, roughly 20 years of experience from this industry. I've worked for Monscott Publishers, Blackwell Publishing in the US. I've worked for Sweats. I worked for LM Information Delivery in various different roles, everything from customer service to sales, publisher relations management, and director positions. But I've only just recently gone in full-time with ConsortiaManager. Now, as I said, I'm just going to talk very quickly about what ConsortiaManager is. It's not going to take more than 5 minutes or so, but I just think that it's important that you understand what it is and why CAUL thinks this is a good idea. Then I'm going to go into a demonstration, not of the full system, but just of the member interface that you're going to be using to do your renewals and orders with CAUL in the future. And then we're going to do a Q&A session where you can ask questions, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. All right, so just quickly about ConsortiaManager. We're a fairly recent startup, a small privately owned company. We've got two owners, Thijs and myself, who founded the company back in 2014. We're based in Copenhagen, Denmark, in Europe, and what started as a one-off project for a Danish consortia has turned into a growing company, because it seems that we've produced something that has been lacking in the market, as no products have really been focused on the consortium market. The product is developed for and by consortia, so we've merely been the instruments of the consortia to figure out what they wanted, and that's also at least to some extent the case with CAUL, where every single consortia has its own ways of doing things, and we try to build that into the system so that it gets tailored to the individual consortia. We currently have 17 consortia on board, where CAUL is the most recent. I think we cover roughly 2,300 institutions that are doing their consortial renewals and purchasing through the system. I tried to put together a slide of some of the consortia. I'm not sure I got all of them. I'm not sure all of them have logos, but I've tried to put as many of them on here as possible. The ConsortiaManager is primarily used in Europe by the larger national consortia, especially in Scandinavia. but it's also used by the big private consortia in the US, most predominantly NERL, but also SCELC out in California has come on board. We've just got word from Big Ten, they're coming on board, and GWILA, the Great Western Library Alliance, is coming on board as well. But we do also have SANLIC in South Africa, and we have customers that you wouldn't really consider a consortium, but actually works the same way, such as the UN, which has a global presence, basically. Now, the purpose of ConsortiaManager, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do think that it's important, is to help consortia accomplish more with less effort. Most consortia today are really pressed in terms of budgets, in terms of resources and time, and it's difficult to keep up with the growing demands of members. So we try to enhance and streamline consortia services. And we do this by trying to enable the consortium to add more agreements, add more information to the agreements that they're offering, anything from license terms to KBOT title lists and other things that could be of relevance to the members. In some cases, we do try to provide better decision support, anything from usage data to research output and linking that to the acquisitions. And of course, just providing a better overview of what it is that you're actually subscribing to. We try to free up time for these tasks by streamlining the services, trying to make fewer errors, faster service, minimizing the manual processes, and then removing duplicate work and trying to automate repetitive tasks. Any one of you who's in acquisitions know that there's a lot of repetition going on. So you have to request prices from 50 different publishers. So that's 50 different tasks that you have to do. In ConsortiaManager, we try to boil that down to just one task that you do for 50 publishers in one go. So streamlining saves time for the consortium, whereas you as members benefit from this enhanced information. Now, when we're talking about streamlining, we're talking about the acquisition cycle. And any of you who's into acquisition knows what this is. It's just acquiring something, paying for it, finding the information, administrating everything from IP addresses to FTE numbers, etc., and then evaluating at the end of the cycle whether you want to renew it. But what goes into that? Well, there's a lot of things, and every consortium is different. Some of the things that we're working on for CAUL at the moment is how to manage foreign exchange rates because you're invoiced in the original currency. So how do we actually come up with a way to compare and collate the total spend in Australian dollars? When should we fix the exchange rates, etc.? Those are some of the things that we're working on. With CAUL specifically, but there are other things that go into this cycle for everyone: contact info, the prices, the FTE data, and so forth. Now, what we do is we try to structure all that information, and to do that, we came up with something that we call the progress bar. And it's basically just the acquisition cycle as defined by the individual consortium. Now, this is just an example. This is not the way that CAUL's progress bar looks like, but it'll give you an indication of what it is, where you have some stages that you push the agreements through. And basically, from your purposes, you'll get involved in sort of in the middle through this phase, because you will be presented with the offers. Once they've been negotiated by Diane and Alicia with the publishers, they will be presented to you, where after which you can place the orders in the interface and get invoiced when that is time. So basically, this is the way that we help CAUL manage all the tasks that goes into managing 1,000 subscriptions for all you members. Now, I want to give you the introduction just to the member interface, and if you do have questions, just either post them or speak up, and then we'll. I don't know, Diane, if you want to do the questions while we're doing it, or whether you want to just save them to the end.
I'll watch the chat, and if I see something that I think we want to address now, I'll speak up.
All right. Good. Let me see. All right. So let's. I'm just gonna select a member. I'm gonna select here Auckland University of Technology, and I'm gonna take the role of Mark Simmons. So Mark, if you're there, don't be alarmed. I'm on the staging server right now, so I can actually do orders and make renewals without anything happening. So I'm not wasting someone's budget away, in case you were wondering. This is the member interface as it looks when you arrive on the landing page. So you've got an overview of all the renewals that are available right now. There are not that many right now because we've only just launched the system, but this will grow as Alicia and Diane finalizes prices for more products. You've got offers. That means products that are available through the consortium, but that you do not currently subscribe to. You can get them out of your interface by just dismissing them, or of course you can place an order for them. You have an overview of the recent actions that you've done. So if you've accepted a lot of subscriptions, it'll be available here. If you've rejected a lot of subscriptions, you'll be able to see it down here as well. Now, the main purpose of the member interface is, of course, to register your renewal, cancellations, or new orders for CAUL, but it also allows you to get more information on the products that you're buying and the history of your subscription. So, for instance, in this case, we've got project news for 2018 up for renewal. Now you can see what the current price is. You can see which what the period is. You can also see if we've registered price from previous years. You can see how much the price is going up. In this case, 3%. You're able to look at the product info. So Alicia has entered product info for Project Muse, so you can read about the various collections. You can also go and actually take a look at the collection itself, the actual journals, if you need to. You can look at the price information, and that's not the prices themselves, but more like a description of the prices. So anything that relates to price, you can see as well. If we have any kind of history, you can see that as well. So you can see what, in this case, it's just the price. It's just the price history, and you can see which kind of options you have. So in this case, you've got 4 different collections that's being offered by the publisher. We are already subscribing, I can tell, to the standard collection, but you could select more if there are other things that you need to select. Now, in this case, I'm just going to renew the one that I already have by pressing order. And once you do that, you're allowed to either put in an overall PO number if you need it, or if you are ordering more products than one and you need a different PO for each, you can put in the PO for each. I'm just going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And at the same time, we will ask you to rate the product. Now, it's not mandatory that you do it, but I really advise you to spend the time doing this because it's going to help with the negotiations. When a consortium negotiates with a publisher, of course, we're looking at price increases over time, the content that's actually included, but those are all sort of objective things. So if you have two institutions that each have let's say 1,000 full text downloads per year in a different in a certain resource, for one of them, that will mean immediate cancellations because of low use. And for the other institution, it's going to mean an automatic renewal because it's the most used resource that they have. So it's important that we get your view. So in this case, we could say, oh yeah, the price is actually okay. The content is fantastic and we get so much usage over this. But however, the platform does seem to be a little old. Once you do that, it'll actually summarize that for all the members and help CAUL negotiate with the publishers because it helps them find the angle on the publishers. So once you've done that, you just confirm, and then it will actually remove your renewal from the front page, so you don't have to deal with it anymore. In the same way, for instance, if you do not want the Charleston advisor for 2018, you can simply just remove it from your interface. You will still be able to go and find it afterwards, but just to clear out any clutter, you want to take it out from the front page. Now that's the overview page. It'll try to collate some your acceptance rate and the key statistics on how many subscriptions you have and how much you're spending. Still working a little bit on that due to the fact that all the products are registered in their original currency, so it's kind of difficult to summarize the amounts without fixing the exchange rate at a single point in time. But we'll get there. Now, at the very top bar, you can see that there's the overview page, which takes you to this page, but there's also an agreements page. This is where you can see your actual subscriptions. You can select the individual year that you want to look at. So let's take a look at 2016. You can see all the subscriptions. The original price, we still need to get rid of the Australian dollar price. Right now it's just 1-to-1, but it will be removed one of these days so that you're just looking at the original price. You'll see what the period is. You can actually, from here, you can either go to a cost avoidance report. I'll get back to that later. You can suggest a new subscription. If there's something missing here that you wanted to CAUL to negotiate an agreement for, you can actually just go here, suggest a subscription. It'll send an email to Diane and be done with it in that sense. Also, you can export all the data. That actually goes for the entire system, not just from the members' perspective, but also from the consortium perspective, that everything that's in the system is yours, so everything can be dumped out of the system. Invoices we'll still need to make a decision on because you will be invoiced as you have always been through MYOB, the finance system used by CAUL, but we may put up some pro forma copies of the invoice so that you can actually see what it is that you've been invoiced through this system as well. We still need to make a decision on how that is supposed to look. That was your subscriptions. Now, there are also available agreements that you do not currently have, that you do not currently subscribe to for the coming period. So the Charleston advisor, we just got rid of that in the interface. You can still go here and request a price. Now, the reason why it says request price and not just order is that once we get into the new subscription period, we don't want to just pay the publishers the full price for the subscription without asking for a proration. That's why when you request the price, it goes to CAUL, and then CAUL will try to see if they can get a better price. So that's the reason why you request the price. You don't just order at the full price. Also, you'll have the license summary. We still need to quantify which license terms to display to you, but I will show you in a short while how that's done. Right now, we don't have anything filled in. I'll show you in a short while how that actually is going to look once we get the license terms quantified. And this is merely a process where we're speaking to CAUL about which license terms are important for you guys to see at a glance. I'll get back to that later. Now, there's under statistics, which we're probably going to name reports instead, but you can actually pull reports for your own purposes. So, for instance, if we want information on agreements or subscriptions, we can actually go, let's say we select the period for 2017, we can just generate standard reports, and it will open up, let's see here, it will open up a report of all the subscriptions that you've had, whatever you paid for it, and the subscription dates. Let's just go back to. Also, you can generate your own. We've got standard reports in here. So if you want to take a look at your IP addresses that's been registered or anything like that, you can do it. But you can also just create custom reports yourself, where let's say you want to do something on, well, say subscriptions again. You can actually select what you want to have reported out. And you can even save it. So if you've got standard reports that you're always generating, let's say this is just going to click a couple of random things here. Like this. And now you see I've got a custom report that I can just activate instead of having to generate it every time. All right. The next header is the contact form. You can actually contact both publishers and other members through the system if you need to. So if, for instance, you want to get in touch with a vendor, but you don't know who it is that you're supposed to talk to, you can actually, Carger Publishers, that's Natalie Blanchard. Yeah, I've worked with her. She's the representative of Carger in Australia. So you can actually go and ask her the questions that you need to ask if you can't remember what their contact details are. There's also an address book, so that if you need to get in contact with some of the other people that are involved in the acquisition through CAUL, you can get a hold of them here with phone numbers and emails and their titles, of course. All right, if we go to your profile, this is also something that you will be asked to update from time to time, so that we have updated information about all of you. The FTE information is actually updated by CAUL themselves, and as you see, your FTE has been broken down into, well, the total, but also some of the subject-specific FTE numbers that are used by some of the publishers to price out your subscriptions. And the reason why we register the FTEs is that we can build pricing models in the system that's based on the FTEs. So let's say we have a 3-tiered pricing model. We only have to update 3 prices, and everyone will have a price, instead of updating one price for every single member individually. You have your user accounts, and this is also important because this is where you control who actually can access the system and what are their user rights. We have two types of users right now. We've got an administrator. Well, we've got three user types actually. We got an administrator who can create other users and change everything in the system. Then we've got a user type. The user cannot create other users, but they can renew subscriptions, change information. And then we've got a view-only title. So here, in this case, we've got Craig Murdoch. He's a view-only user. So he can't change anything or do the renewals in the system. But Mark, if he should decide to change that, he can do so. Either by just editing the user. So here we would go and look at the permission level. And you can also set new passwords for people, etc. You can put notes and attachments onto the user if you need to. And also you can register whether this is the primary contact. Please be aware that you can't untick the primary contact before you've set a new one. That's something that that you have to remember, because the system cannot have be without a primary contact, because that's where all the information goes to, the renewal information, etc. Let's go back to, and of course, if you need to add a new user, you just click Add User and do that. Let's see what else is there. There's the IP addresses, and this is actually important, because if you change your IP addresses, you can use ConsortiaManager to notify all the publishers. So in this case, I can't remember how many subscriptions Oakland had, but I thought it was like 47 subscriptions. Let's say it's from 30 different publishers. So instead of contacting 30 different publishers, what you would do here is either you would change it or add another IP. It's very simple. You just go, for instance, and change the numbers here. You can also add locations and descriptions to it. And once you save that change, a message will be sent out to all the publishers, asking them to change the IP addresses that they've registered for you. So that's a quick way of changing this for all your subscriptions that you subscribe to through CAUL.
Nels, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
I've got a few questions,
Yeah.
but one is specifically related to sending messages to publishers and vendors.
Yeah.
And the question was from Melanie whether the system will log those questions that you've sent off.
Yeah, I mean, there's a log for everything. So if you look at, let's say here, interactions, you can actually see everything that's been done in the system. So so everything that goes on. So for instance, here you see that we rejected the Charleston Advisor Online, and actually I'm logged in as you, Diane. So so Mark can actually see that it's you who did this on his behalf, if there should be a problem. And also mails that you send off will be logged in a similar fashion.
And
so you can always, but yeah, and maybe I should also mention this. It will be sent off with the member's own email information. So the answer that comes back will come back to the member's own email address. It won't go back into the system. So you won't have to check the system to see if they get back to you. It's simply a quick way to find out if who the contact person is.
And just going to the IP addresses that you were showing a minute ago, a question from me is, does it have an unlimited number of address fields that you can put in? You can just keep adding them?
Yeah, you can just keep adding them. Obviously, there's actually two different types of IP addresses. There's the old IPv4, which is the sort of the well-known, but the problem is that we're running out of IP addresses. The world is running out of IP addresses, so they come up with IPv6. So I don't know whether you've started using that yet, but that gives you more options. But you can add as many of them as you want, and as many different locations, and split them up in any which way you want.
Okay, that's all for now. I'll come back to Kirsten's questions later.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I should just show you what you can actually see on. Let's see. We went to we had some subscriptions here for 2018. We had renewed Project Muse. Let's go try to check a look at Project Muse and what kind of information can you actually see. Now, we've got a content summary that can change from year to year. It doesn't necessarily change. There could be links in here to the journal collection. I see Alicia has put in a link where we can actually go to the home page of Project Muse and see what's actually included. We've got pricing information. So anything that CAUL thinks that you should be aware of. List price increases, for instance, could be mentioned here. It could also be the pricing matrix itself. If there is a tiered pricing, where the tiers separate and how many FTEs, etc. You can see the license information. I'll actually show you how this looks once you've quantified it. But here you will typically find a link to the license itself, so that you can dive into the details. But also CAUL will be able to quantify certain parts of the license. So, is there remote user access? Is ILL allowed? Do we get APC discounts through this agreement? There could be all kinds of things that you want to display. You can see the member ratings. Now, we've only done for CAUL one rating, and that's the rating that I just did 5 minutes ago. But here you'll be able to see your own rating versus all the other members' rating of this product. You will be able to see which products are included under this agreement. If there are any links and notes, you can actually add them yourself here. So if you have notes that are important for you as a member institution, something like we always get categorized as tier 2 because we have so few medical students or something. You could add it here so that it's available, that information for future reference. Also, you will be able to go back in time. So if you want to see what this looked like back in 2017, if there are any changes in the prices or the content files or anything like that, you will be able to see it here.
Nels, Kay has actually asked a question about the retrospective stuff, and we actually made a decision that we would put the 2016 and 2017 data in for all of the products that we handle the invoicing for, because we were able to export it out of MYOB. For those that others have been handling the invoicing, we are definitely asking them for the 2017 information, so we can get that in as a basis before we start the 2018 renewals. So only to a limited extent will we have retrospective, but ongoing, you'll be able to see everything, and then you'll be able to compare. But otherwise, it's back to the old website for that sort of information.
Yeah, and also I should say, just as a reminder to all the CAUL members, is that we're dealing with a a large amount of data that we're exporting from different systems. So Diane mentioned MYOB, but we're also trying to collect data for all the stuff that hasn't been invoiced through CAUL. And getting all this information from a spreadsheet format into a relational database is not as simple as just uploading an Excel file. So from time to time, you will probably find some kind of data error where it says, oh, you paid 0 for this last year. If you run into those types of instances, just let CAUL know, because then we'll correct it. It's just a data error, but in my experience, it's very difficult to avoid completely, because there are so many sources of where numbers can, they can have been typed in differently into the spreadsheet. They can be uploaded wrongly. They can be been associated with the wrong agreement. I mean, we shouldn't have too much of it, but it's just so that you understand that probably you could find data here and there that is a bit off. All right. I think, well, we could take a look at the cost avoidance report. This is something that you will start seeing more of going forward. It's
actually, Nels,
yeah.
Before we go to that, this might be a good time to put Kirsten's questions.
Yes.
First of all, how do you see the CAUL offers that the institution has not previously subscribed to?
Yeah, you go to agreements, and then you go to, well, we called it available subscriptions here. I think it should be available agreements. And then you, right now, because we've only just uploaded uploaded the data, and we've only launched, like, I don't know, 6 products on the staging server for we've only published 6 offers. You will only see these 4. But if, let's say, CAUL has let's say, offering 100 products, and you're only subscribing to 50 of them, you will see 50 products here as they get published. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The next question is, can we see details of the other unis' acceptance of agreements?
You could. Let's see how we set it up. So you can actually, if you go to what was it? It was Muse, right? And we can see. We can actually, well, we can actually show who else is subscribing. Right now, Auckland is the only one who's actually accepted this. But as we go along, we should be able to see who subscribes. Let's see if we can see it for 2017. See here, you can see who else is subscribing to it.
Great, excellent.
Yeah. Right now, we're not sharing prices or anything here. It's very different from consortium to consortium how open it is. But in theory, we could share that as well.
That's the information that everyone is exposed to now. So our option would be to continue to expose it.
Yeah. All right. I'll just make a note of that. So other institutions. Show price. All right. Good. So the one thing that I still have to show you is the cost avoidance report, and this is something that will become available as we load in new subscriptions. Now, it requires the consortium to actually put in the list price of the product. And also, of course, the final price for the members. But once we start launching the 2018 agreements, you will be able to see how much the list price is for the product, how much the final price is, how much your saving has been in pounds and dollars and euros and Australian dollars. And then we'll change that with an estimate into Australian dollars. So you will have a full overview of your cost savings by using CAUL. in case there is no list price, sometimes it happens that, that a list price simply does not exist. We will group all of these at the bottom, because there we can't really do a cost avoidance for you because we don't know what the list price is. But otherwise, you'll be able to see this so that it'll give you a better understanding of what the value of CAUL is to you as a member.
And I'll just add there that it's one of the key bits of information that we fully intend to include in the system, and we are asking every publisher to provide it really clearly up front, because this is one of the most valuable things people will get from this.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much what I had for this session. The member interface is pretty straightforward. The only thing that I would ask you to be really careful with is when you change your IP addresses, because the publishers are being notified. So if you type in the wrong numbers and type in the wrong numbers again and then type in the right numbers, they will be notified every time. So please please be careful that you actually enter the correct IP addresses. But that's the main thing.
On that, I must admit I've been tossing up whether or not to allow that as a field that people can change on their own.
Yeah.
And I've left it to you out there at the moment. But there are two areas where we won't let you change the information. One is your institution name, because it's very important that we keep institutional records absolutely together, and we've got an authority file of your names, and that's what we're using. So if you ever need to change your name, UNSW, please don't change it again. Please let me know, and we'll manage it from this end. But that won't happen very often. Does it Western Sydney? The other one that we won't let you change is the FTEs. They will be managed centrally as they are now, with the official legal stuff that we get from the Department of Education. So that we'll continue to use that from the centre. IP addresses at the moment, staying with you. So if you have any problems with them, come to us and we'll see if we can fix it.
All right. So any other questions or things that we should cover on the member interface or consortium?
Louise has asked, is the IP the only place that that contacts the vendors directly? So yeah. I guess part of that question is, if I change the IP addresses, does it automatically send, or do I have to push it out? And is there any other place that gets pushed out without?
Yeah, I think that what we've done is that it sends it out once a day, which means that even if you by mistake punch in the wrong IP address and you find out 2 seconds later, oh my God, it's wrong, then you can still change it and it won't go out. It'll only go out once a day. So that kind of takes care of these little mistakes that always can happen. But that's the only time it actually contacts the publisher directly. I know that some consortia have set up the orders to go off straight to the publisher once they get placed in the system, but that's not the case for CAUL. In that case, we consolidate the orders for all the members, so that we try to finalize the agreements and get all the orders off to the publisher in one go. You will also notice that there is there's a deadline on all the subscriptions in the system, but you will also be notified by the system when a deadline is coming up. and that you need to respond to CAUL on whether you want to renew the subscription or not. And I think, Diane, remind me correct me if I'm wrong, but if you do not get back in time, your subscription will simply not be renewed. Is that correct?
No, we will, as we do now, keep pushing you for your responses if you're a current subscriber. Of course, one of the things that you now won't see is Diane's naughty list, and I'm sure you'll all be disappointed that only the person who's naughty will get to see that message now. So in fact, we're not, in principle, changing that timing thing that we've done before. The biggest difference is that instead of dealing with it via email, you'll deal with it directly via the system, and you'll get the emails through the system generally, rather than from us outside the system.
Yeah. All right.
I have a few questions or comments, things that just going back to the beginning, Nels, when you're talking about why we're doing it, and as I foreshadowed at the meeting earlier this year, the emails and our retaining information in spreadsheets will be one of the big things at this end that will save us a lot of processing time. But the biggest advantage at your end, I can see, and you'll probably find others, is that you'll be able to see all your own records. Including, at the moment, we can easily generate a list of your subscriptions out of MYOB, but they're only the ones for which we're handling the invoicing. What we haven't been able to do is to generate a list of your subscriptions for which other people, which are CAUL offers, but which are handled directly by the vendor or publisher. Because we're now making an effort to get all of that into the system so that it's all done that way, you will now be able to go in and see all your subs, whether or not Natalie's handling them or Louise is handling them at Beezy, or EBSCO is handling them directly. If it's a CAUL offer, it goes into the system and you'll be able to see all of the results there. Those are the, I think, the biggest things for us.
Yeah, I think what it does is that it opens up possibilities for the consortium to take on a role that it's not been able to do before. Because if you're bogged down in sending emails and collating spreadsheets and all that, you can use an entire year doing that, but you won't have time to focus on all the other things that's going on. And what we see now is that a lot of the agreements are changing in nature. They're becoming these agreements that include open access charges, and there's all kinds of things that need to where we need to keep track of what's going on with this agreement. It's becoming more complex, and streamlining and getting rid of all these repetitive and non-value-adding tasks will allow consortia to focus on things that really add value for you guys as members. So I think it's one thing is what it does right now, but it's also about what kind of possibilities does it open up for the consortium to take on in terms of enhancing the service to members.
And in fact, a question from Lisa about how early invoicing will work. No change to that, Lisa. Our invoicing will be the same. So that's outside this. One of the things that we're investigating, as Nels has highlighted before, was if there's any value in, once we've handled the invoice, whether we put, for example, the current exchange rate between US and Australian dollars into the system so that you get a ballpark figure of what that might be worth at the time of invoicing. But invoicing won't directly happen in the system. your price will be in the system, but the invoice won't be in that way.
Yeah. It's a built-in problem, right? That if your price in Australian dollars will be dependent on when the member actually pays its dues in the original currency. So all CAUL can do is to estimate it at its own time of payment of the publisher invoice. So it's not going to be 100% exact, but that's kind of built into.
We're all dealing in ballpark figures all the time, but it'll be better than you've got now.
Yeah.
Another question from Melanie is about when they can start using the system. We're getting very close, so within the next week or two, but we're just doing some tidying up of the data. Alicia's already got some of the offers up, ready on the live site. But until I press the publish button, it won't go out to you. So, as I said, a week or two. So we're going to be starting the whole renewal cycle a bit later than usual. Can't be helped, but hopefully it'll be a lot quicker once we get started. This year, we're doing a lot of things twice because we're trying to get the background data in as well as the new data. And there's other stuff happening as well. So let's just hope that once we do get started and you've asked your questions, we can get the questions answered pretty quickly. Nels has already said that he's going to be really happy to make himself available for follow-up webinars that we can do more question and answers. And we can do that fairly quickly. Kay's just saying that the ballpark figure with the exchange rate would be useful, so that's good.
And we're going to be looking at that over the next week or so to make sure that because sometimes it does pop up with some weird values, like you see on this page with the consortium interface. It adds up everything and estimates in Australian dollars, but this is actually just a summary of all the different currencies and then AUD slapped on it. So we're still working on a couple of the little things, but I don't think that it won't change the fact that it'll give you a much better overview of what you're subscribing to today and how much it is and how much it was last year. And once we start filling out all the information, like the license terms, etc., then it'll be much better for you guys than what you previously had. I promised actually. I promised that Diane, that I just wanted to show what it actually looked like when you had the license terms filled out.
Yes, please.
So I took a couple of screenshots. Let's see. Where was it? Here we go. So you've got what you will see once we decide which license terms to quantify, so to speak, is that they will appear in the interface as either icons or just tick marks. So here you can say, oh yeah, I can do e-copy for other libraries. I have IP access. Is there remote user access? No, in this case. It doesn't necessarily have to be these particular things that they've chosen down in South Africa. It can be anything that you want, so that you can get an idea at a glance what you can actually do with this resource, and then of course you can dive down into the license itself if you want to read the finer print, basically, or the more sort of exotic details of the license.
And on the subject of licenses, two things. One is I'm going to be selecting which of those terms will be best. So if you've got favourites, please tell me by email. But those ones, most of those ones don't make any sense to me. The Kay has asked, will copies of licenses be able to be downloaded? where we will be uploading them into that content part of the agreement information, and anything that's uploaded you can download, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I could just show you maybe what it actually looks like when you filled this out. So just give me a second here, and I'll show you. Let's see this. I got this. I can just show you what it looks like. So if you're seeing my screen now, I don't know whether it's too small, but here you will actually see the individual items that you've quantified. So you'll be able to look at this from the point of view, like what do we have available? Let's take a look at all our agreements that do not allow remote user access, for instance. So it allows you to put a quick focus on the ones where you really need to renegotiate the license, and what you should actually be focusing on when you're speaking to the publisher. So if you can't get a better price, maybe you can get better license terms. So that's kind of the whole idea of the way that the system should help the consortium.
And Nels, the downloading the documents from the content section where we've uploaded them. So as Alicia pointed out, the original pricing documents and the licenses will still be uploaded in the way we've uploaded to the website before.
Yeah, I mean you can upload files, as many files as you want. So, you know, if you just want to make spreadsheets or links to websites available for the content, you can do that. But you can also upload itemized content files. And that's actually something that I wanted to discuss with you and Alicia and just show you how to actually do that, because it allows you to monitor over time which journals fall out of the package and which new ones comes in over time, and it also allows you to, if the publisher delivers the title list in kbart format file, then the members can actually get those title lists out in that particular format. So which makes it a little bit easier if you want to update, you know, whatever it is that you need to update your link resolver or anything like that.
And in fact, all of the publishers, we are now asking them for KBART formatted files. We're still going to make the other titles lists available as files, but the KBART formatted ones will be able to integrate into the system.
Yeah.
A couple of questions. Oh, Alicia's just pointed out that there's an example of the KBART format in Project News. And while you're looking at that, Elisa has asked, will we be archiving information that's currently on the CAUL website? Yes, the answer is yes.
Let's see if we can. It seems to not be downloaded. You uploaded this for 2018, Alicia. Well, we'll take a look at it later on, but you will get a total list of itemized titles for each agreement that actually where the publisher delivers it. It looks like it's been uploaded, I think, on 2017, because it looks like it has 1,400 discontinued titles, which sounds, then we have to go back and talk to them about price for sure, Diane, if that's the case.
Alicia says that the 2018 is not there.
Okay, so that's why. But anyway,
the 2017 is there.
Yeah. So we should be able to find those. we went to, there was project news, right? And then we go to 2017. All right, so here we go. So there we see all the titles that are there. And of course, you know, all you have to, the minimum requirements for uploading a title list is that we have an ISSN and a journal name. However, you know, if the publishers can provide us with the KBOT format file, of course that's what we want, because that gives you coverage and all kinds of other things that you need. And there was another question, I think.
Yeah, Lisa's asked if we will send the KBOT files to ProQuest for their serial solutions.
Well, actually,
that's really not for you. That's more for me.
Okay, yeah, but actually, it's not a bad idea at all to be able to send off all the KBOT, the combined KBOT format files to a third party who actually deals with those, you know, entitlements and links, etc. So it's actually not a bad idea. I'm just going to take that down, actually.
Our preference has always been that the publishers should send them to Serial Solutions, because they're the ones who know what everyone's subscribing to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's the just being able to export the combined titles of all your agreements and email them to someone is actually not a bad idea, and I don't think it would be that problematic to do.
Anyway, Lisa really likes your idea, Nels. Okay. Really likes it.
Well, that's good. I'll take it to the developers right away. Yeah, the idea is that we will be able to, over time, to track this. So, for instance, if we go back to project news, and we try to look at the negotiation facts, so that when Diane goes into a conversation about this, they can actually see, well, how many members and how much was the value, and any kind of pricing information that we have over time, but we could look at the member data and the rankings. So what if they've been ranked in terms of turnover, in terms of importance? We can take a look at. Oops, did I just? I think I just went back. Sorry. And we can take a look at the title list data, so that we could see over time how many titles were included, how many disappeared from the package, how many came in, so that we can use that as negotiation leverage as well as just the price increases, etc.
But just confirming, that is only if we've got the KBOT data ingested into the system.
Because if it's just Excel spreadsheet files that are uploaded, we can't really do anything with it. It needs to be itemized, and it's also one of those things where you know, if on the member end you guys are doing usage data, you also need itemized title lists to actually connect the usage data from the publishers to the individual titles in the package, and not that just the total usage from a particular publisher, because then it's going to be all
wrong. Kay's also suggested that we send the KBOT files to OCLC as well. I'm imagining that's for WorldCat, Kay?
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know whether, but I mean, we should be able to do it as long as I mean, there's a big difference in providing a system that enables you to do things easily, and then kind of maintaining a knowledge base or whatever, as say ProQuest would be doing. So of course we can build the functionality to pull out all the title lists with all the data and be able to send them off. But it will require the consortium to actually make sure that all those files are updated. And well, in the end, it's the publishers that need to supply the data, of course.
Okay. But just confirming, Kay did say that they use WorldCat's WMS as their discovery tool. So
yeah. So I think that we should probably make it a it's probably something that you activate manually, and you decide where to send the information, and whether you want to send it to ProQuest or OCLC or someone else completely. Then that's up to you.
Yep. Now we're over the hour. So any last questions, folks, before we close up for now? There'll be more again, but it's probably enough for one day. Quickly, typing, no?
No, you're more than welcome to contact me directly. Also, if you have questions, my email address is nrj@consortiamanager.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. But just remember, if you do find data errors and that type of stuff, just let CAUL know, and then we'll get on fixing it. But it's just so that you remember, we just uploaded all the data, so there will definitely be some things that are going to be off.
Okay, thank you from Louise, and thank you from me, Nels. That's really great, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow.
Yes.
And,
do you want me to stay on the call?
No, I think we're good. I think this has all worked really well, and I'm pleased. And everyone, just send me another question if you have. But you know how email works, okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'll say goodbye to everybody, and I'll close off the meeting now.
All right. Thank you. Bye.